What actually separates the elite from the absolute legends? Well, welcome to the Explainer, athletes. Today, we're stripping away the highlight reels, the flash, the crazy media noise, and the shiny trophies. We're getting right down to the pure, raw mechanics of the elite athletic mindset. We're decoding the competitive drive of literally one of the most relentlessly driven figures in the history of modern sports, Cristiano Ronaldo. If you're someone who grinds day in and day out, someone who completely obsesses over biometrics, recovery, and finding that tiny 1% mental edge, you are in the exact right place. Because today, we're going to deconstruct the psychology of a champion. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever wondered why, when you walk into weight rooms, locker rooms, or training pitches anywhere in the world, whether it's basketball, MMA, track and field, you see so many competitors modeling their exact work ethic specifically after Ronaldo? I mean, it goes way beyond just putting a soccer ball in the back of the net, right? His specific journey from a scrawny kid in Madeira to an absolute physical powerhouse, his uncompromising work ethic, and his undeniable alpha personality resonate incredibly intensely with male fans and athletes across the globe. So today, we're mapping out exactly why his mindset has become the ultimate blueprint for the modern obsessed competitor.
All right, Section 1, the ultimate athletic debate. Before we dissect Ronaldo's mentality layer by layer, look, we've got to address the elephant in the room. You really cannot analyze this topic without bumping into the classic Messi versus Ronaldo conversation. But let me be absolutely 100% clear right off the bat. We are not here to debate who the better player is. We're playing completely neutral on that front. Instead, we're looking at this through the lens of what these two global icons fundamentally represent to us as athletes trying to reach our own peak. And this brilliantly illustrates the crux of the matter. On one side, you've got Lionel Messi, who is just widely admired for this profound natural talent, his inherent humility, and this seemingly effortless football genius. His innate spatial awareness and that crazy low center of gravity make him the ultimate archetype of the natural genius. But then, on the flip side, we have Cristiano Ronaldo. He's defined by a self-made story, relentless discipline, and a hardened alpha mindset. We're using Messi's traits here strictly as a foil, kind of just to highlight perfectly that Ronaldo isn't just a naturally gifted player. No way. He is a force of will who literally engineered his own greatness from the ground up. I mean, he's the guy with the biomechanically engineered 30-inch vertical leap, generating 5 Gs of G-force on takeoff. That isn't magic, guys. That is math, muscle, and total obsession.
Which brings us to Section 2, the engineered competitor. Let's see how this all builds into the core of what makes Ronaldo so compelling. We're zooming in heavily on this idea of being engineered, because for those of you watching who actually wake up early and push through the pain barrier every single day, this is the side of the equation that speaks directly to your own competitive nature. This is the absolute blueprint of his self-made story. It begins with a genuinely humble background. He grew up sharing a single room with his siblings, completely lacking elite sports science or top-tier nutrition on day one. Next up is the relentless hard work. There are these famous stories from his time at the Sporting Lisbon Academy where he'd actually sneak out of the dormitory late at night just to lift weights. He deliberately disobeyed coaches who told him he was too skinny and that teenagers shouldn't lift that heavy. He took his baseline and applied a work ethic that's quite frankly legendary now. And finally, the physical transformation. He didn't just practice his sport, he completely overhauled his physical vessel. He added pounds of pure lean muscle mass to become one of the most durable athletes on the planet. This isn't some fairy tale. It's a massive 15-year construction project built on sweat and an absolute refusal to remain average. Listen, as an athlete, you know what true dedication to fitness, discipline, and training actually looks like, right? It translates to those dark early hours. It translates to isolation. We're talking about the microcycles of training, the active recovery, the sheer mundane repetition of greatness. For instance, get this. When his team flies back from a Champions League away match arriving at like 3 a.m., while the other players just go home to their beds, Ronaldo heads straight to the training complex for cryotherapy and hydrotherapy. Crazy, right? It's even reported he takes up to 5 90-minute naps a day in a fetal position on fresh sheets just to completely optimize his central nervous system recovery. Now, to an outsider, that probably sounds completely unhinged. But to you, the competitive athlete, it's the meticulous optimization of recovery. That massive physical transformation we just talked about is simply the visible, undeniable proof of years of unseen, punishing, almost psychotic dedication to his craft. So let's talk about the brain behind the brawn. Section 3, the alpha mindset. Now that we understand the physical engineering that went into building his career, we really need to shift our focus to the engine running the entire machine. Because, let's be honest, the body can only go as far as the mind pushes it. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these psychological pillars form a complete armor, a motivational personality constructed right upon sacrifice, hard work, ambition, confidence, and leadership. Notice how frequently he publicly speaks about sacrifice and ambition? Yeah, that's not by accident. It is the language of an alpha competitor who literally weaponizes pressure. Take the 2019 Champions League round of 16, for example. His team, Juventus, was down 2-0 to Atletico Madrid after the first leg. Now, instead of shrinking away, Ronaldo boldly told the press, his family, and his friends that they would advance. He essentially painted a massive target on his own back, totally inviting the pressure. And then, he used that immense weight to fuel his phenomenal work rate, scoring a hat trick in the second leg to win the tie. That is leading from the front. That is supreme confidence forged in the dark.
So the crucial point is that core ethos. Never give up. Okay, it sounds incredibly simple, maybe even like a cliche you'd see on some cheesy motivational poster. But for an athlete of this caliber, it's an operational mandate. It is a non-negotiable cognitive override switch. Just think about it physiologically for a second. When central nervous system fatigue sets in, when your lungs are absolutely burning and lactate is flooding your muscles in the 89th minute of a grueling match, your brain naturally signals your body to shut down and protect itself. But Ronaldo's relentless winning mentality and supreme confidence, that acts as a wedge against that physiological shutdown. He uses pure psychological grit to just override the body's physical limits. This absolute refusal to yield, no matter what the scoreboard says or how incredibly heavy the legs feel, is the exact psychological trigger you have to rely on to keep moving forward when everything inside you is screaming to stop.
Bringing us to our final part, Section 4, Choose Your Path. As we bring this explainer to a close, we need to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture of athletic pursuit, especially based on everything we've covered today. In the quest for greatness, it's so vital to recognize that neither the natural path nor the engineered path is inherently right or wrong. Not at all. There's simply two completely different vehicles for reaching the absolute pinnacle of success: the pull of brilliance versus the pull of discipline. Some people look at sports and they just want to witness pure magic, right? They're deeply drawn to that natural talent, that effortless flow state, and the humble personality we discussed earlier. But others, and likely a ton of you watching this explainer right now, find your ultimate inspiration in a story defined purely by hard work, strict discipline, and self-made success. It's about looking at an alpha competitor who stripped away every single excuse, maximized every single biological variable, and realizing that greatness doesn't actually have to be an innate gift. It can absolutely be manufactured through sheer, unadulterated will. Which brings us to our final question for you. Talent or discipline? Which archetype drives your competitive edge? When you step onto the field, the court, or into the gym tomorrow morning, what is going to fuel your pursuit of victory? Are you relying on the gifts you were born with, or are you prepared to completely engineer your own greatness from the ground up? Look in the mirror, decide which mentality you are going to channel today, and then get out there and get back to work.